Welcome to Live DAF, your online DAF Yomi Shir.
Hello and Shalom Aleichem. Welcome back to today's DAF, KIDDUSHIN Samach Aleph. We are on Samach Amud Beis, at the last line, the last few words, Gabe Hegdesh Tanan. So we have the following halacha presented in a Mishnah regarding a person who's magdish, his field. He takes his field and gives it away to the Beis HaMikdash. So the Mishnah says, Ha-magdish sadeu. If one gives away his field to the Beis HaMikdash, bish'as ha-yovel, at that point in our history, when Yovel was still active, when we were observing Yovel, due to the fact that Klal Yisrael were living in Eretz Yisrael, so at that point, if one chooses to redeem a field from Hegdish, there's a set price stipulated in the Torah, irrespective of the actual market value of this field. How much does he pay? For each area, each piece of land which can hold a chaymer. Chaymer is a certain amount, a kur of soirim seeds. So basically a place in which you can plant a chaymer of barley seeds. So each plot of that size fetches the following payment: 50 shekel kesef. You have to pay 50 shekel per such area. Okay? So again, this is unrelated to the actual market value of that field, because this is the formula, this is the price established by the Torah regarding redemption from Hekdesh. Now, this is provided that we're speaking about a field that can be planted. It's suitable for agriculture. But let's say we have some area which is full of boulders or a deep pit. You have some sort of pit, 10 tefach deep, pretty deep pit. Or boulders, 10 tefach high. Ein nimdaden ima. So although you are magdish them together with the field, but if he chooses to redeem these specific areas, you can't count them in to this general measurement of the field and include it in that rate, because it's like a separate hegdish. You want to redeem it? Okay, sure, market value, but it's not included in that formula with the rest of the field, because it's a separate area which is it's on its own plane, right? So it has its own redemption. Pachas mikan, but let's say it's less than 10 tefach deep or 10 tefach high, so then it's it's batal to the field. Nimdad and ima, so you just apply one measurement to the entire field, including the dips and the hills and the valleys, and it's all included in the same formula. 50 selah, 50 shekel per area. Now we had a kasha on this Mishnah. So I understand that a pit which is so deep is not considered the same. It's not one entity with the area above it. Okay, so I understand it must be dealt with separately, but still, why does it lose this formula? The 50 shekel kesef nigdishu ba'api nafshayu. Fine, let it have its own identity. Right? You can't, pair it together with the rest of the field. Rashi explains, you're not going to just keep on measuring down the hill into the pit and work your way back up the other side and keep on measuring it. It doesn't work like that, because it's its own separate area. But let's just measure the flat area on bottom. Ignore the walls, okay? The walls are not considered, suitable for agriculture. It's not part of the same field. But at least just drop down to the bottom, to the flat area on bottom, and focus on that, and give it the same redemption formula as an ordinary field. 50 shekel per plot. Perhaps you'll say it's undersized. There's a minimum. Kama do have a base kur? The Torah says 50 shekel per chaymer, which is a term used to describe a base kur, a place where you can plant a kur of seeds, right? So if this little pit doesn't have that qualifying size, then it's not reckoned in this formula. You can't apply this system to undersized field. Rather, you redeem it based on actual market value. Is that true? No, there's no minimum regarding this redemption formula. Torah says he was magdish his estate. It says you could have just said me'achuzasei from his estate. Why add the word sada? Sada. What's the point? The answer is because the pasuk presents this formula, right? Zera chaymer soirim. So the specific type sized property is meant to be redeemed by how much? With how much? 50 coins. So perhaps this system only applies if the area in fact has a base core. What about a smaller piece of land? Menayin l'rabbi lesach. Lesach is a half a core. V'chatzi lesach, half of that. A sa'ah, place it, which you can only plant a sa'ah. Tar kav, treva kav, 200 kav, 3 kav, right? V'chatzi kav, or half that amount. I feel a roiv, even a quarter. Menayin. What about those miniature fields? Tamar loima sada. That's why the pasuk mentions sada mikol mokim, irrespective of size. So, back to the question. What about these pits? Amar ukva bar chama. We're not speaking about ordinary pits, which are suitable for planting. Hacha b'nekoim. We're talking about pits that are full of water. You can't plant there. So it's not treated like a ordinary sada, in which case you can't apply this redemption formula. Rather, redeem it based on its actual market value. I'll prove, in fact, that it's full of water. Because the Mishnah pairs it together, right? Two examples: deep pits and tall boulders. Shemamino, it's clear that we're speaking about the same, entity of similar nature. So just like the sela it's not meant for planting. Likewise, the pits are full of water, and therefore they're not treated like a regular field. So if that's the case, it's unsuitable for planting. So then, why do we say it only applies to a very deep pit, even if it's just a slight dip, full of water? It's not right for planting. Answers the Gemara: Hanu nagani da'ara mikra. When they're small enough, they're a bottle to the land. Rashi says hanikoim kruin agonis. They have a different name. Agonis hakarka shamayim mismatzin l'seicham. That's by Matan Torah. Receptacles, kalim, containers. They're just like small containers, small puddles. Nagana da'ara mikru, puddles on the field. Shidra da'ara mikru. In case of the boulders, they're small-sized boulders. Okay, they're just part of the landscape. Shidra is like a spine. They're just there's like a vein in the field, right? Doesn't have its own identity. It's not a separate entity. Therefore, it's just enveloped in the field and included in the redemption process of the field. Okay, end of halacha. So regarding hegdish, pits, boulders, is it included or not? Depends on the size. They're small enough, they're bottle, otherwise they're separate entities. Let's move on to a different topic, a different variation of this halacha. Gabi mecher. Tonight we have a Mishnah regarding land transactions. What happens there regarding pits and boulders? We're going to approach a simon. Look, I'm selling you such and such field. Again, the pits and the boulders. They cannot be included. He promised them a base kur, a place which is suitable for farming. He didn't mean these deep pits. He's got to give him flat land for a total of a base kur. Pachas mekan. Or if they're smaller in size, less than 10 tfachim deep or high, then dadan ima, he can count them in to his base kur. Here's a chiddush. Even if the pits are totally empty, no water. But if they're 10 tefach deep, they don't count as part of the sale. Meaning you can't, you have to give them a full base kur aside from those pits. That's what he promised them, a base kur, a planting area. My time, the question is, why? In this case, even if it's not filled with water, do you not count it in? Amar Papa, here it's very different than Hegdish. Here it's a matter of practicality. A person's unwilling to spend his money with a mindset of buying himself one field, right, which he can maintain all at once. And it appears to him, it presents to him practically like Kishnayim, it's like 2-3 areas. He's got to climb up, climb down. He wants one consistent system, one farm, one field, and therefore when it's filled with pits and boulders, if they're large enough, they're 10 tefach deep or high, then he's not interested. He wants a base kur, a flat, continuous property. So that's the slight difference between Mecher and Hegdish. When it comes to Mecher, it's all about mindset and mentality. So once they're sizable enough, they're not included, irrespective of whether they're filled with water or not. When it comes to Hegdish, it's all about, classification. So if it's classified as part of the field, even if it's inconvenient to actually, tend to those low areas, but unless it's filled with water, it's part of the field, it's part of the same entity, and it's included. The only way we exclude it is if it's not suitable for planting, it's filled with water, and it's sizable enough to be considered a separate entity. So we have two separate formulas, two separate guidelines regarding these pits. Hegdish has one system, and Mechira has a different system. Here comes an interesting question. What about Kiddushin? Remember the Mishnah. We had a fellow who promised an Isha, look, be Mekudesh to me on condition that I own a base kur. But let's say inside his base kur there are dips, pits, and boulders which detract from the total amount. Has he kept his promise or not? Fri May. Do we compare it to Hegdish or to real estate deals? So let's say he has a deep pit, 10 tefachim deep, without water. Do we say it's like Hegdish? Without water? Goes right in. It's included in the base kur. Or do we compare it to Mecher? And even with the absence of Mayim, it's not included in the base kur. Says the Gemara, Mistaver leHegdish ma'minilam. It's probable that we equate it to Hegdish, and if it's a clear pit without water, it's okay, it's included in the total of the base kur, and she's Mukudeshes. Why? The Amarla, because this husband can claim to her, look, what's the issue? Tending to the low-lying areas, climbing up and down, I'll take it, I'm the farmer, not you. Ana tarachna, v'zarana, u'maisina. I'll make the effort, climb down, plant it, and bring up the crop. So ultimately, as long as we have the required size, the required total, a base kur, who cares if it's up, if it's down, as long as it's plantable, it's right for agriculture, I'll take care of it, and therefore she's Mekudeshes. So bottom line, we have a base kur filled with deep pits, so if it's less than 10 tefachim, it's insignificant, it's bottle, we don't have to reckon with it as a separate entity. If it's 10 tefachim deep, by Hegdish we say, well, if it's filled with water, it's considered a separate entity. Regarding Pidyon, regarding Mecher, even if it's not filled with water, it's not included, whereas according to, in the case of Kiddushin, Rav Papa says, the Gemara's conclusion is that it's okay because, after all, he's the farmer, and technically he kept his deal. Now, we heard so much about Tanai Kafel throughout the Masechtas. You make a condition. Do you have to reinforce it by duplicating it? Well, if you'll do this, it works. If you won't do that, deal's off. Do you have to actually reinforce it? Or is it enough to go and say, well, do this, and then we have a deal? And by default, we know, if you don't fulfill your obligation, the deal is off. So is Tanai Kafel needed? Do you have to duplicate it or not? Rabbi Meir says, yep. Rabbi Meir called Tanai She'enoi Kitnai Bnei Gad Ubnei Reuven Einoi Tanai. the idea of a Tanai is based on the Psukim describing the Tanai B'nai Gad of Bnei Reuven. So after they conquered the area outside Eretz Yisrael across the Jordan called the Gilad area, Ever LaYardim, these Shvatim, Bnei Gad, Bnei Reuven, due to their immense flocks, asked Moshe Rabbeinu to grant them that specific area, the Eretz HaGilad. And he told them, look, on condition that you come forth and cross the Jordan River with your brethren into Eretz Yisrael and join the war effort. If you do that, then you'll get your Eretz HaGilad. But Moshe Rabbeinu repeated that same condition on the Nay side. If you don't join, if you don't offer assistance, then you're going to forfeit the deal. Then they'll just, join the rest of Klal Yisrael and get their portion in Eretz Canaan proper, and forfeit their extra portion of Eretz HaGilad. Why? Why did Moshe Rabbeinu have to repeat both sides of the deal? Says Rabbi Meir, we learn from here that Kol Tanai she'eino ke'Tanai Bnei Gad Bnei Reuven, any Tanai does not conform to the same formula. It's not structured as a Tanai Kofel, as the Tanai was set forth with the Bnei Gad and the Bnei Reuven. Eino Tanai, the Tanai does not hold. Shenemar, as we find, Moshe Rabbeinu tells them, Vayomer Aleim, Im Yavru Bnei Gad Bnei Reuven. He told Klal Yisrael, look, if the Shvatim of Gad and Reuven will come and help you, they'll get their land. And then it says, on the Nay side as well, if they refuse to come and help you, then they'll lose their opportunity. Apparently, in order for a Tanai to stick, you have to repeat it both ways. Rabbi Chanina ben Gamliel Omer, no, not necessarily. A Tanai does not need reinforcement. It's understood by default. Well, if I tell you the positive, element of the Tanai, you automatically know, well, if you don't keep the deal's off, right? So why did, in fact, Moshe Rabbeinu have to elaborate? If they don't come and help you, then why do you have to say that for? There's a reason for it. Not to teach us Tanai Kafel. Rabbi Chanina ben Gamliel Omer, there was a reason for it. Shalom Aleichem, because if he had not added that additional stipulation, Yesh b'mashma, I would conclude that, you know what? If they don't come and help their brethren, they lose everything. You see, they wanted Eretz Gilad. Look, if you come help them, you get Eretz Gilad. What happens if they don't come to help them? The deal is off. What now? Maybe they get nothing. They lose all Nachla in Eretz Yisrael. That's why the pasuk has to go and say, look, Moshe Rabbeinu told them, look, you don't keep the deal. Well, losing Eretz HaGilad, that's understood. I don't have to express that. You don't need a Tanai Kafel. If you don't keep the deal's off. But I want to be generous to you, and even if you don't keep the deal, you'll still get something in Eretz Yisrael. You'll get, whatever is a 12th of Eretz Yisrael, a proportional amount to your, to your shevet, to your size. But it wasn't meant to teach us Tanai Kafel. Asks the Gemara, well, that's a pretty good argument against Rabbi Meir. How does Rabbi Meir learn Tanai Kafel from here? There's a reason why you had to express it again. As we explained, Shaper Ka'amalei. It would seem that it's a good argument. Shaper Ka'amalei or Chanim Gamliel the Rabbi Meir. Amalach Rabbi Meir responds like this. No. I understand that Moshe Rabbeinu needed to, assure them that they get something, even if they don't keep the deal. I understand. But why did he have to elaborate to this extent? Amalach Rabbi Meir, if it's true, if it's correct, if your argument is true that the repetition was not meant to highlight the need to repeat every condition, to teach us the concept of Tanai Kafel, rather it was coming to tell you, to tell them what you suggested, to assure them that they get something. There are extra words here. There's too much. The pasuk would simply say like this: if they don't come and help you, they'll share, your inheritance, in Eretz Canaan. right? Stop right there. Be'eretz Canaan Lamali. He added 2 more words. They don't keep the deal. They don't come assist you at war. They'll share your inheritance. But then it adds one more thing. Be'eretz Canaan. Not over there, in Eretz HaGilad. Dafka in Eretz Canaan. What was the point of adding those words? Be'eretz Canaan, Lamali. Shema Menilat Nakofel Dasa. That proves my point, says Rabbi Meir. He was just repeating that same deal. If they come to help, they get Eretz HaGilad. If they do not, then they forfeit Eretz HaGilad. This is just the flip side of that condition. And that's why he added the word Eretz Canaan. At most, I'll get something locally on this side of the Yardi, in Eretz Canaan proper. But they'll never get Eretz HaGilad. He had to highlight, he had to emphasize that, which is really the flip side, the nay side of that original deal. So these extra words, this extra expression, is a Tanai Kafel. So again, Rabbi Meir agrees that there was more to it than just Tanai Kafel. He was telling them, look, you keep the deal, you come help them at war, you get Eretz HaGilad. If you don't, then, right, if they don't come across, they'll get part of your inheritance where? Be'eretz Canaan. So there are 2 things there. First of all, they'll get something, but then you have to add and emphasize, Be'eretz Canaan, they'll only get it here, not over there in Gilad. That second aspect of his expression was the Tanai Kafel, was the flip side of that original deal. They keep the deal, they get Eretz HaGilad. If they don't keep the deal, they don't get Eretz HaGilad. So we learn also Tanai Kafel from this pasuk. Okay, so Rabbi Chanin Gamliel, how does he respond? Basically, he's going to try to prove that. He's going to try to bring out that the pasuk here has nothing to do with Tanai Kafel. You don't need Tanai Kafel. Eretz HaGilad, they lose that. It's understood, self-understood. You already told them, look, you come help, you get Eretz HaGilad. Stop right there. If you don't, you lose it. This entire pasuk, including the words Eretz Canaan, is simply coming to tell you that if they don't keep the deal and they lose Eretz HaGilad because they're not keeping the deal, they'll still get a proper inheritance, even in Eretz Yisrael proper. You see, there are really 3 options. If they don't keep the deal, option A, they get nothing, 0. They lost all rights anywhere. Option C is they can get, a proportionate amount in Eretz Yisrael like any other Shevet. Now comes Rabbi Chanin Gamliel and says, look, there's option B as well. Another option. Not they lose everything, not they get something locally in Eretz Canaan, but they'll get something in Eretz HaGilad. We'll split it, we'll divide it amongst all 12 Shvatim. They'll have no disproportionate rights, as they would have had if they would have kept the deal. But they get, a 12th of Eretz HaGilad. They're not entitled to Eretz Yisrael proper. They only get a chelik in Eretz HaGilad. So here Rabbi Chanina is introducing a new option. Maybe we would have given them option 2. A small portion in Eretz HaGilad. Comes the pasuk and says no. They could even get in Eretz Canaan itself. A small portion. And that's why the pasuk has to say, look, if they don't come and help, they'll get a 12th, a fair share. Not only in Eretz HaGilad, but even in Eretz Canaan. They're entitled to Eretz Yisrael proper as well. But again, unrelated to Tanai Kafel, we know they lost their oversized portion in Eretz HaGilad because due to the fact that they failed to keep their deal. That's simple. You don't need a Tanai Kafel for that. Just the opposite. The pasuk is telling you, even if they skip the deal and they lose Eretz HaGilad by default, but they'll still be entitled to some fair portion, even in Eretz Canaan. Don't think it's nothing. Don't think it's just in Eretz HaGilad. Small portion, even in Eretz Canaan. So it's option B, and that's what the pasuk is telling you. If not for the pasuk emphasizing Eretz Canaan, that even though they lost a big deal, they're still entitled to a small portion in Eretz Canaan, I would say there's no such option. It's either they lost everything, or they get something in Eretz HaGilad, which is, a lower level. How do I know that they can get even in Eretz Canaan? Havamina, I would have thought. Means Eretz Gilad, they'll get a small portion in Eretz HaGilad. Eretz Canaan, but to get a portion of Eretz Yisrael proper itself, klal loy, that for sure not. So that explains the whole elaboration of the pasuk. And it's not coming for halacha of Tanai Kafel. Again, they keep the deal, they get the entire Eretz HaGilad. They don't keep the deal, of course they lose Eretz HaGilad, you don't need a special pasuk, you don't need Tanai Kafel for that. What's this pasuk coming for? Simply to tell you, look, even if they skip the deal and they lose the entire Eretz HaGilad, but we have still three options to deal with. Either they get nothing, or they get, a proportionate amount of Eretz HaGilad, or even Eretz Canaan, a small proportional amount. So I would think maybe they lose everything. Maybe they'll get something, but maybe only in Eretz HaGilad, option C. Comes a pasuk and says, no, they could even get a proportionate amount of Eretz Canaan, that's option B. Rabbi Meir says, you don't need a pasuk that there's an option B, that they can get a portion of Eretz Canaan. It says, even if they skip the deal and they lose Eretz HaGilad, they'll be amongst you. They'll get their inheritance, their territory. Whatever you have, wherever the rest of the Shvatim get possession, whether it's in Eretz Canaan or Eretz HaGilad, there's no reason to differentiate. So according to Rabbi Meir, there's no need for the pasuk to highlight option B, that they can have a portion in Eretz Canaan. It's pashat, they get like everybody else. So why does the pasuk then add the words Be'eretz Canaan? Only to teach you Tanai Kafel. Well, you don't keep the deal. At most, you get a portion over here in Eretz Canaan, or maybe in Eretz HaGilad, a small portion, but just a small proportionate amount. Proportion to your size, it's your, right? But you never get that big Eretz HaGilad. So why re-emphasize it? Why rub it in? Because otherwise, without this duplicate Tanai, there's no Tanai. So bottom line, Moshe Rabbeinu sets forth the deal. You come help your brethren, you get the entire Eretz HaGilad. Otherwise, v'neichasu b'seichechem be'eretz Canaan. Says Rabbi Meir, that's coming to tell you Tanai Kafel. That's the other side of the condition. If you don't come help, you don't get Eretz HaGilad. From here we learn Tanai Kafel. Rabbi Yehuda says, look, you don't need Tanai Kafel. The reason why you had to emphasize Be'eretz Canaan, that's because without the words Be'eretz Canaan, I would say, look, they get something. I don't think they get nothing. They get something. Maybe in Eretz HaGilad. Be'eretz Canaan tells you they can even take a portion in Eretz Canaan itself. Tanya, we have a brayso with this halacha brought out in a mashal. Mashal lamad over there. This whole story regarding Moshe Rabbeinu with the Shvatim of Gad and Reuven, where he told them, look, he promised them, if you'll come help out, then you get the entire Eretz HaGilad. Right? Otherwise, you'll only, you'll only share, you'll get an equal portion in Eretz Canaan with the rest of Klal Yisrael. What could it be compared to? Say we have a similar case. The mashal is la'adam shayimachalik nechasu levanav. You have a father divvying up his estate amongst his children. Amar, he declared as follows. So he has three sons, Reuven, Shimon, and Levi, right? B'loini b'ni, Pliny, my son, Reuven, Yirash, so the Pliny, he gets field A. Field number 1 belongs to Reuven. Pliny b'ni, and my second son, Shimon, Yirash, so the Pliny, he gets field number 2. Pliny b'ni, and my third son, Levi, I'm giving him an extra special field. Yitain Masayim, so first he has to pay for it. So there shouldn't be any discrimination. He pays the 200 zuz, and he gets the extra special field number 3. Yirash, so the Pliny. If he fails to pay that price, well, then he joins the rest of his brothers. Yirashim Echa V'Shar Nechasim, and he'll join up with the other brothers, and they'll divide everything equally. Even field 1 and field 2 will be divided equally. So not only, if he doesn't pay up, not only will he be entitled to a third of field 3 and share that with his brothers, he goes back and he joins them in the other fields as well. So they make an equal division on all fields. Who says? Mi goram loy lirashim echav b'shar nechasim. Who gives him the right to go back to Reuven and Shimon and divide up their fields with him as well? Kfeila garam loy. It's only because father re-emphasized that. You see, if not for the father adding that last stipulation, if you don't pay up, you'll join your other brothers in their fields. If not for that addition, we wouldn't know that he has the right to go encroach on their fields. We would say, look, in field 3, they make an equal division. He gets a third of field 3. But who says he gets a third of field 1 and field 2? It's only because father re-emphasized that. He clearly said so. And likewise in our Mishnah, B'nai Gad, B'nai Reuven, paid 200 zuz. That's like a mashal to come join and assist your brethren at war. Then you're entitled to this mega property, Ever LaYardin, Eretz HaGilad. But if you don't, even if you don't keep your deal, you don't lose everything. You'll join your brethren. You'll get not only a small portion of Eretz HaGilad, in proportion to your size and your status, but you'll even go and divide Eretz Yisrael together with the rest of your brothers. Shar nechasim. You don't get an extra special inheritance, but you're treated equally to the rest. So that's like the story with the father and the sons. Asks the Gemara. So apparently, we're saying that the Bnei Gad, Bnei Reuven would have gotten something, even if Moshe Rabbeinu would not have promised them clearly that they can get a portion of Eretz Canaan. They would have gotten something. They would have gotten a small portion, at least, of Eretz HaGilad, like the son. We said the son. Why is he joining Reuven and Shimon in their fields, rather than just sufficing with a third of the third field? Well, the father clearly says he can go and join up with them b'shar nechasim. But otherwise, he would get something. He would get a third of the third field. He would get an equal share in the third field, like the Bnei Gad, Bnei Reuven, who would be entitled, regardless, they would be entitled to a small portion at least of Eretz HaGilad. But it doesn't seem consistent with Rabbi Chanina and Gamliel's Loshin in our Mishnah, where he seems to indicate that if not for Moshe Rabbeinu clearly, assuring them that they'll get something, they wouldn't get anything. For the mashal that we just cited, is this similar l'masnisin to our Mishnah? Hasam Tani, there in the Mishnah it says, Rabbi Chanina and Gamliel clearly says that if not for the special assurance from Moshe Rabbeinu, if not for that repetition, yesh b'mashma, I would understand that if they don't keep their deal, if they don't come and help their brothers, they don't pay their dues, so to speak, yesh b'mashma shafilu b'eretz Canaan yichalu, and they get nothing. Al mukfelo l'eretz Gilad nami mahani. So apparently, the kfela, the repetition, the reinforcement, Moshe Rabbeinu's special promise and assurance was needed simply to promise them a small portion in Eretz HaGilad. Forget about Eretz Canaan. Just to give them something in Eretz HaGilad, they needed a special assurance. That is different than the mashal that we just mentioned. Here in the mashal it says that this third brother, even if he doesn't pay his dues, he at least gets an equal portion of the third field. That's granted. The point was to give him extra above that, to give him an equal portion in field 1 and field 2 as well. What's entitling him to get a portion in field A and field B? It's that repetition, that reassurance from his father. So the kfela, the reassurance, the reinforcement, is to give him that extra privilege, to allow him to join equally with his brothers in all fields. But even without that, he would be entitled to at least an equal portion in field 3. So again, if he pays his dues, he gets full access to field 3. If he doesn't pay his dues, it's understood that he gets at least a third of field 3. And the point of the father was to say, look, if you can't pay your dues, at least you'll have equal share with your brothers in all fields. So you have to give him that extra promise, that extra assurance. And for comparing it to the Moshe Rabbeinu's deal with Bnei Gad, Bnei Reuven, so likewise over here, if you keep the deal, you get the entire Eretz HaGilad. And even if you do not keep your deal, you don't pay your dues, you'll get a proportionate amount of the entire Eretz Canaan with Eretz HaGilad. But now Mishnah seems to say, and even without Moshe Rabbeinu assuring them that they would still get at least a portion of Eretz Hagilah, a small portion. But now Mishnah seems that if not for Moshe Rabbeinu giving them that extra assurance, they would get nothing. Well, says the Gemara, remember we had a whole back and forth before, and we discovered that there were not only two options: get nothing or get a portion of an equal portion in Eretz Canaan. There was a third option as well. Maybe you'll get a portion in Eretz Hagilat, a 12th of Eretz Hagilat, right? Remember we discovered that option? That was Reb Chanina Gamliel's response to Reb Meir. So before we discovered that option, it was either all or nothing. Either, if they don't keep the deal, either they get nothing or they get an equal portion in Eretz Yisrael. So at that point we understood that we needed Moshe Rabbeinu's assurance to give them an equal portion in Eretz Yisrael. Otherwise they would get nothing. Like Kasha, Kamik the name in lay, Rabbi Meir v'neichsu. So before Rabbi Meir responded, well, why does it have to say v'neichsu be'eretz Canaan, an extra pasuk? It could have just said v'neichsu b'seichem, and that itself would be sufficient to promise them something. Right? So before Rabbi Meir responded with that, we figured we have only two options. If they don't keep the deal, we only have two options. Either nothing, they'll get nothing, and that's why Moshe Rabbeinu had to say, no, they get. They'll get a part of Eretz Canaan. So clearly, it was only due to Moshe Rabbeinu's extra assurance that they got something. But then when we proceeded along that discussion between Rabbi Meir and Reb Chanina Gamliel, Halabasar, the name of Rabbi Meir v'neichsa. But after Meir responded by saying, 1 second, to assure them option C, right? We had option A and option C. Option A is they'll get nothing. Option C, they get a portion of Eretz Canaan. To assure them option C, all they need to do is to say, v'neichsa b'seichechem. They get something amongst you. Why does it say Eretz Canaan? Oh, Eretz Canaan is telling you, in either case, they don't get this huge Eretz Hagilah, they lost their deal, and that reinforces the fact that you need a duplication of Tnai Kafel to solidify the deal. And on that, Reb Chanina responded, no. Remember, there's option B as well. The Torah has to highlight. And that we're not doing option B. That's why it says Be'eretz Canaan. Because we have three ways to deal with Bnei Gad and Bnei Reuven if they don't keep their deal. Option A, nothing. Option C, an equal portion in Eretz Canaan. But there's option B as well. At a minimum, maybe they would get Eretz Hagilah, part of Eretz Hagilah, the 12th of Eretz Hagilah. That's it. Who says we give them more? That's why it says they get B'seichem Eretz Canaan. They get option C. They can get a part of Eretz Canaan. They're allowed to get that as well. So once we've come to that point that there are three options, so basically, even without Moshe Rabbeinu saying Be'eretz Canaan, they would still get a part of Eretz Hagilah. Like the story with the brothers. Even without the father emphasizing, well, even if you don't pay your dues, you'll share with your brothers on all their properties. Even without saying that, he would still get a third of field 3. He would get that as a minimum. Like over here, we're saying that they would still get a portion of Eretz Hagilah, even without Moshe Rabbeinu adding the words Eretz Canaan. So that's why I have to say Eretz Canaan, to tell you that don't think we suffice with option B. You could even do option C, which is give them a part of Eretz Canaan. Okay, it's a bit complicated, but ultimately the point here is like this. We have a parsha in the Torah where Bnei Gad and Bnei Reuven wanted this jumbo area called Eretz Hagilah all for themselves. Moshe Rabbeinu says, look, you come help your brothers in their warfare against the inhabitants of Eretz Canaan. You keep the whole Eretz Hagilah. And then Moshe Rabbeinu comes and presents the flip side. If they do not pay their dues, Eretz Canaan. Says Rameir, why the repetition? Why the duplication? Why have to go through the flip side as well? Something which you just know by default. Well, to tell them that they get something, you can just say V'neichsu b'seichem. Why Be'eretz Canaan? To highlight the fact that At most, they'll just get over here. They won't get that jumbo area in Eretz HaGilad, because this is the second side, the Tanai Kafel of that condition. Rabbi Yehuda says, look, we don't learn Tanai Kafel from here. There are two stages. There are 2 points the Torah has to bring out. They don't keep the deal. Of course they lose Eretz HaGilad, because that's the Tanai. Rather, the pasuk is telling them like this. Moshe Rabbeinu is assuring them, even if they don't, not capable of keeping their end of the deal, they'll still get an equal portion with the rest of Klal Yisrael, not only in Eber Hayarden, Eretz HaGilad, even in Eretz Canaan. Okay, the bottom line is, according to Rabbi Meir, in order for a condition to be binding, it has to be a double-sided condition. Tanai Kafel. According to Rabbi Meir, we understand, we find several times in the Chumash where the Torah in fact presents double-sided formulas, and that's consistent with Rabbi Meir. They need a Tanai Kafel for it to be binding. For instance, you have in Parshas Bereshis, right? In Seitiv, Se'es, Hashem tells Cain, if you'll make an effort, you'll get Se'es, you'll earn a reward. Otherwise, you'll be punished. Afesach, Chatas Roives, the Chatas, the Chet, with a subsequent, punishment and misfortune will come and reach you, right? So, Hashem needed to present both sides of the formula. Otherwise, it wouldn't be binding. On the one side, on the positive end, we have Vim Tetiv Seis. On the negative side, Vim Loi Tetiv, Apetach Chatas Roives. We never need duplication. Why do we have to duplicate it? Lamali. The answer is like this. It wouldn't be obvious. Perhaps I would say, it's all about being positive. Im Seitiv, if a person behaves, Agra, he gets reward. But it's an opportunity. It's a one-sided opportunity. Im Lo Seitiv, but if he does not conform, okay. So he missed the opportunity. Who says he gets punished? Who says Hashem goes to that extent to cleanse him and to purify him and to enable him for eternal sechar? Who says? Im Lo Seitiv, Lo Agra, Lo Dina. There's no reward, there's no punishment. That's what the pasuk emphasized. No, it's a double-sided deal. Ultimately, Hashem wants the best for you, eternal reward. It comes by way of a double system. You do good, you get rewarded. Otherwise, Hashem cleanses you to enable you for ultimate schar. Another kasha regarding Avram Avinu, who called aside Eliezer, his slave, and asked him to endeavor to find a shidduch for his son Yitzchak. Don't take from the local women of Eretz Canaan. Go visit my hometown and see if you can find somebody there. Somebody from my family, right? And he made him swear. And he says, look, you go there and you're successful, good. Otherwise, I'm absolving you of this oath. That I forbade you to take from the local daughters, right? Local Bnei Canaan. Why does he have to repeat his stipulation? He imposed the oath, and he says, look, if you're not successful, I absolve you of the oath. Why that duplication? Bishlam the Rameh, according to Rameh, understand. If you're not successful, you're absolved. Why does he have to elaborate on that? Right? It's understood. If he goes and he makes the effort and is unsuccessful, then the oath is down. Istrich, there's a reason for it. Perhaps I would say, suppose he encounters a good candidate for Yitzchak, and she's willing to come, but her family are not interested. So he's still bound to his oath, and he has to make all efforts and bring her even against the wishes of her family. Kamashwan, the Chiddush is no. If it doesn't go smooth, if they're not interested, don't force her, and that's it. You did your job and you're off. Now comes another kash. And this is a kash on everybody. The pasuk says, look, if you're not successful, then we're done, right? But then the pasuk says, Loi soiva isha, if she's not willing to come, then v'nikisa mashvuos izois, and you're absolved from this commitment. why does the pasuk have to repeat another reference regarding the Isha not interested? It already says if they're not interested in giving her and sending her, then you're free. Why does it have to repeat Im loitova Isha? Im loitova Isha lamli. There's a chiddush. I would think what about if you have a case in reverse? That they're interested in the match, and she's not interested. Perhaps you have to make, have to really go all out and bring her against her will, and to keep your shvuah. Kamashmon, the chiddush is no. There has to be full consent. Familial consent is not enough, and her personal consent is not enough. It has to be with goodwill. It has to work out. Otherwise, you're free and you're absolved from this commitment. Furthermore, according to Rabbi Yehuda, I understand the pasuk. Pashas b'chakaisa begins with a promise for the positive. If you adhere, if you fulfill, if you learn Torah, you get all the blessings. But it's followed with a negative warning as well. If you ignore the Torah, then chas v'shalom there's klala. Why the need to duplicate? Isn't it obvious? If we give the carrot for doing well, obviously there's a stick for ignoring. So according to our mayor, we understand the need to duplicate it because otherwise it wouldn't be binding. According to him, why do we need to duplicate something which is obvious? Istrich, there's a need. Perhaps I would say it isn't obvious. It isn't readily understood. If we behave, we get bracha. But who says that if we don't behave, there's the opposite? Who says? That's very similar to the Imtetziv Se'es before, right? You would say we're promised bracha, but then loy bracha v'loy klala. Okay, we're not deserving of bracha. But who says we get klala? Chas v'shalom kamashmon comes the pasuk and says no. It's a two-sided coin. For listening, you get bracha, and the opposite for opposite. So once again, according to Rabbi Yehuda Kessler, we understand the pasuk, very similar pasuk. This is in Yeshaya, promising reward and bracha for following the ways of Hashem, and punishment for the reverse. Im toivu v'shematem, you get bracha. Im temanu marisim, you refuse and rebel, then there's klal. It says cherev to uklu, which the Gemara will soon explain. So according to Reb Meir, it's understood why the Torah has to present it on both sides. Why the repetition? Once you have it on the positive side, the rest is obvious and understood. Istrich, there's a need to express both sides. For the same reason, perhaps I would say, it's only a one-sided commitment. Im taivu, if you desire and follow Hashem's ways, taiva, then you get bracha. Im tamanu, if you ignore Hashem's ways, chas v'shalom, lo tov lo ra, nor good nor bad, kamashmon, the pasuk says no. It's a double-sided commitment. Now the pasuk describes the punishment as cherev to uklu. The Gemara makes a drasha. It's referring to eating something which is similar to a sword. What does that mean? My cherev to uklu, that I'll eat something called a cherev. What does that mean? Something which is difficult to digest. There'll be a shortage of quality food, amarava. They'll be forced to eat out of poverty. They'll be forced to eat milcha galanisa, like thick, coarse salt, v'nahama desari akusha, and hard barley bread, ubitzali with onions, which isn't a very good combination. Damar, as we learned, pas purni chareva, dry bread baked in a big oven, v'melach with salt, ubitzalim together with onions, are not a good recipe. Koshem leguf kecharaves. They adversely affect one's body like swords, and that's what the pasuk means to relate to this klala chas v'shalom cherev to uklu, consuming food which is equated to swords, which has a detrimental effect on one's health. So bottom line, we do good, we get bracha. Amen. Okay, let's summarize today's daf. If there's a tract of land, a base core offer with some dips and some bumps, if they're small and significant in size, they're batal. But if they're, let's say, 10 tefachim deep, so when it comes to hegdish, has its own, redemption process, provided that it's filled with water, in which case it's not suitable for agriculture. When it comes to mechira, so I promise you a base kur offer as a sale, and you find all kinds of pits. Well, even if it's not filled with water, it's not included in the dimension of the field because, it's inconvenient to have to deal with all kinds of levels and elevations. When it comes to kiddushin, where you promised her a base kur offer, he says, look, you're mekuddush to me on condition that I own a base kur offer. There, even if you have these nekaim, these pits 10 tefachim deep, if they're not filled with water and they can be tended to and planted, it's his issue, and she's okay with it. Then we have the famous machlokes regarding Tanai Kafel. Fri May requires Tanai Kafel regarding all kinds of stipulations and commitments and promises. And Rabbi Yehuda Kessler, as Shittas Rabbanon, do not require Tanai Kafel. We had the whole back and forth that's based on Moshe Rabbeinu with the Pnei Gad of Bnei Ruvain, and we went on to different various references of stipulations and promises in the Torah, which are for the most part Tanai Kafels, and we explained it based on Rameir Shita and even on the other Shita as well. To be continued. Be'ez Hashem. All the best to you and Atzlacha Rabbah.